Welcome back to the Self Trust Solution Podcast. Today's conversation is one so many entrepreneurs, leaders, and couples quietly need because self trust doesn't just shape your business decisions, it shapes your relationships, your communication, your desires, and the way you show up in your most intimate connections. I'm joined by Dr. Laura Jurgens, a dual certified master relationship and intimacy coach and host of the Desire Gap podcast. She specializes in helping individuals and couples discover authentic sexual connection, navigate desire discrepancies, reduce relationship anxiety, and build confidence in the places that often feel the most tender. Before this work, Laura was a university professor with a PhD in biological sciences. And like many of us, her self trust journey involved letting go of external validation, choosing her own learning path, and stepping into work that required her to trust her voice and her expertise long before the world caught up. Today, she's one of the few coaches who doesn't shy away from the emotionally charged, highly misunderstood territory of desire gaps. And she's helping people make progress in places where they felt stuck, maybe for years. Laura, I'm so grateful you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dawn. That was such a beautiful intro. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you here. And so have a really interesting story. And part of it starts with maybe not trusting your own judgment as a coach or practitioner. Like many of us, we start where either we're not trusting ourselves or we're not accessing the trust that we already have. What did life or work look like for you then?
Yeah, so I had a really interesting journey with self trust because I really thought that I had more than I did. I I thought, and it was because I had some in particular areas where I had
Mhm.
already built evidence for myself of achievement or overcoming or things like that. So I had a lot of self trust for achievement within established systems. I knew I was good at school. And even though life had sent me a bunch of setbacks for accessing higher education, and I was like a homeless teenager and I was independent and all kinds of stuff, I had trust that I could do academia. I knew I could do that. And so as long as I figured out how to support myself, and so that was like a whole shenanigans in my 20s. And I figured out how to overcome those things in the established systems, right?
Mhm.
In the like working for somebody else and going to school within the academic structure. And then, I earned a tenure track position at a top research university as a science professor, but I was really relying on external achievement for my self worth and my validation. And when I got into coaching, I was doing it as a science professor as a side thing because it had been so revolutionary for me in my life, and it had really helped me get out of depression, stop drinking, like stop being an imposter syndrome person and actually get the job I wanted,
Mm.
right? Coaching was massive for me, and I had built a lot of skills through focused study, multiple certifications, and I had practiced with a lot of clients even. So I had confidence in my coaching skills, but I had zero confidence in my ability to actually run a business and market my services. I had
Mm.
no confidence whatsoever and no self-trust in my people skills. Even though I was really great with people as a coach, I did not see how that might be a gap or I need to translate that into actually business capability with people,
Yeah.
marketing capability with people. I didn't think I could support myself. I thought I had to work for somebody else.
Even though you had evidence, years of evidence through some pretty tough and challenging times of being on your own, being homeless, to prove that you could. But I love that you bring that up because it happens to so many of us. We compartmentalize.
Yeah.
It's like if I haven't done it before and I don't have proof, sometimes we pull from evidence or the external And sometimes we see it as we just don't have it at all, even
Yeah,
though
I
you
didn't think
actually
I
had
had
evidence.
it at all. I didn't
Yeah.
like, it was super ironic. I could be successful at, like, the hardest things academically and even just in, like, survival mode, but I was terrified to start my own business, and I looked at all the people who could do that as, like, special unicorn. I was like, "They are different from me.
Mhm.
I can't wear that unicorn outfit. Like, I don't know how to do that."
Yeah.
And so my self-trust in that regard was completely lacking, and I didn't really know how to bridge the gap. And it was a whole project.
And what did you reach for in the absence of believing that you could trust yourself? What were those external or
Well, and I will say I don't regret what I reached for. What I reached for was building evidence that I could really help people.
Mm,
And so I built skills. I did a lot of study and I did a lot of practice with real people, helping them, including for free. I coached for free a bunch. And I think I did something like 400 hours of free coaching. And it was me actually being on to myself and knowing I needed to build confidence that I could really help people before I could sell anything to anybody. Because I needed to believe in my product. And my product was my capacity to really get people the results that they wanted. So I did a deep dive in that, but I would say, and I don't think that was the wrong way to go. For me, it was a really good path. But I do think I probably stayed there longer than I needed to. And I definitely undercharged for longer than I needed to.
mm.
And it wasn't super great for a business for you to be like massively undercharging for your product and not even be at like industry standard, right? So
Yeah.
it's taken that is something that like that was kind of what I leaned on was like studying and proving to myself that my product was really going to help people, and then I could make the mindset shift of, like, kind of getting out of my own way, like, I have something that helps people, so I need to stop being such a wuss about it and actually let people know that it exists so they can get this help when they need it.
Yeah. What can you take us to the moment when you realize that those external markers, the validations, couldn't be the guiding thing guiding your development anymore?
Yeah, that is such an important moment, right? The, like, I have to trust myself to succeed on my own terms without this, like, regular paycheck and institutional scaffolding kinda behind me. I was just standing in this, like, prestigious academic job and realizing it felt, like, horrible. I really hated it. I still love science, but I am not a good fit for academia. I am not a good fit for a big bureaucracy. I don't play by those rules very well. I question way too much stuff. So, I didn't like being part of the system that I was in. And it was because it was so uncomfortable that I just got this moment of like, I need to figure out how to trust myself to take this leap. And I literally listened to like, I made an empowering playlist and I listened to it in the car on my way to and from my job. Right. And I used it to self soothe. And then I like decided that I was going to move and leave the job. And I did that before I was ready. And then I gave myself this sort of like exit ramp timeline. And it was like by the time that I wasn't going to get a paycheck anymore, I was super, super anxious about it. And well, I mean, I got a lot of help. I got a lot of coaching help. I was going to like two coaches and like a therapist. But that's what it took, and I was doing a lot of meditation and a lot like, I was pulling out all the things from my resilience basket, like, the things that I do to support myself, and I was constantly self-coaching around, like, I was gonna be safe. I was gonna be okay. right? And that somehow I was gonna figure this out and that I'd figured things out in the past. But it took a lot, and I had to kinda put a date on the calendar and be like, "Girl,
And what
you're
did that
doing
mean for you?
this."
So that meant no longer giving away free coaching, but actually charging for your coaching.
Yeah, and I had been charging for coaching for a couple
Okay.
years, but it meant, like, leaving my full-time job with a steady paycheck and relying on my coaching business to now be my full-time income, and so I gave myself a transition, right? And I think that was important to me was that I didn't go, like I think that helped me kinda bridge the gap to more self-trust was saying, "Okay, I don't have to go from 0 to 100 to in one day. I can build up a, small side gig coaching business, keep working at my job, and then transition myself out." But I had to pick a day and just say, "We're gonna do this," because otherwise you can kinda stay in the comfort zone for too long. And for me anyway, I sometimes need to push myself into self-trust. Like, I need to jump out of the airplane and then be like, "I have a parachute. Oh my god. This is amazing." Like, if I don't jump out of the airplane, I'm just gonna sit there with my parachute and never know that it can hold me kind of thing.
Striving is building evidence for yourself. But I would say that you show a lot of self trust through that because self trust isn't being comfortable in tough decisions.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
means you're willing to make them even though it's uncomfortable. And setting structure and boundaries and a plan, a strategy around, what it's going to take to leave your full-time job and be fully entrepreneur, that is self-trust too. It doesn't mean we
Yeah.
just jump and believe we're going to be fine. So
Yeah.
I think where you were, it sounds, and you tell me if you agree, like there was belief gaps in can I do this a little bit? But there was a lot of trust in I'm going to set myself up so that I can figure it out in a way that works for me.
Yeah, it was like my brain had so I started with 0 trust that I could have like, support myself with my own business, and then I basically put a plan into place to build that evidence and that trust over time,
By
and I
leaning on the trust you already had in yourself to figure things out.
to figure things out. Yeah, so even though there was a gap in one area, I
Mhm.
was able to trust myself to figure things out and make a plan, and then by the time I got to the time where I had to leap, it was like my brain knew that I could do it, but my nervous system was still like,
Yeah.
"This is terrifying." But I had enough belief built up and enough evidence built up that I was still able to make that leap. And I did all of that on purpose, and I'm really glad that I did it that way.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I think it's such a good example for anyone who's listening that the having those doubts doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. Like you
Yeah, it's not a reason
support
not to do it.
you can support yourself through it and leap on where because I always say, like, it's not that trust isn't there. It's that what just like what you so beautifully did, it's finding the place that you already see it, where you're already exercising trust with yourself and applying it in the different ways, connecting it because you're trustworthy. There are just places where it feels a little shakier or a little less practiced or a little less evidence to support, but you can totally build it. So, now tell us
Yeah,
where.
absolutely.
So, you made a bold decision to specialize in desired groups. And this
Yep.
is something that many coaches avoid because it's pretty emotionally charged, right? So,
Yeah.
what was the self-trust moment behind it saying, I'm willing to go into this hard place?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is a really interesting place where I feel like self-trust and then being in service
Mhm.
can really help you get out of your own way with the any undermining thoughts and actions because it just was so clear that my clients were getting really good. I started with a practice, my practice was broad. So it was like relationship and intimacy coach. Like I help people with all kinds of problems. And I still do. I still help people with all kinds of problems in their sex lives and in their relationships. But I had so many clients that were presenting with this challenge where they were in all kinds of pain because they were on one side or the other of this desire discrepancy in their relationship, and they were seeing no good support and really crappy advice on the internet, like bad advice, right? And they're going to the sex toy store to try to like buy something to surprise their partner with in the hope that it will magically make their partner want to have sex with them. Or they're like trying to take them out to dinner and go on date nights or something and thinking like, but meanwhile, when none of this stuff is working, it's just that it's like hurting more and more. Right. And then the other person's feeling like pressured and withdrawing and everything's just like really painful. So I've seen these people with massive amounts of pain. We were working it out in coaching with me and sorting it out. And I wasn't seeing people fight. People kept coming and saying, I wish we had found you years ago. And that was telling me that it just like there isn't good help out there that was really helping people. And so even though it's not an easy problem to solve and it's not a super quick, I mean, it's like 6 months to a year max, but it's not, 3 weeks. It's not like the 3-week diet solution or something. Like, people have to put some time and effort into it, and so it was kinda scary because of that. Because even most of my fellow intimacy coaches were like, "We don't touch that." And where I live in Asheville, North Carolina, I talked to all the sex therapists, they were like, we know what to do when people have, like, pathological issues, but we really don't know what to do about those." And the counselors and therapists are just telling people, like, "This is sort of how it is. Your other option is divorce."
Mm.
And
So
so it
tell me
was
what's
just the
going on.
problem.
Yeah.
Like, the problem was so bad that I felt like I needed to just, like, "All right, I know this is gonna be challenging. This is a hard problem that a lot of people are avoiding, but I actually do know how to work with this and help people." So I just decided I needed to that's just where being in service to your people kinda makes you get out of your own way of
What
not
was
I'm
the
like, "I
fear
I
though?
gotta stop not trusting myself and just be like, I am here for you."
Yeah, but give us an example of some of the thoughts, like the fears or the doubts that were accompanying that choice.
Yeah, it was like nobody actually I think my biggest fear was the thought, nobody actually wants to solve this in like, everybody wants a magic bullet, everybody wants a silver
Mm.
bullet, and nobody actually wants to put the effort in
That it's gonna take.
that it's gonna take 6 months to work on this. And that's absolutely not true. It's not
Yeah.
true at all. But my brain is like, "Hey, Americans want the quick fix." And what actually is this not what I found at all. My clients are not people who they know this is gonna take a while, but they also know they've been sitting on it for 10 years and they feel awful. 6 months is like nothing.
Right.
But I was using that sort of like, "Oh, our culture is all about the sort of happy meal and the fast stuff." And I was not really crediting my clients with what like being thoughtful the brilliant, thoughtful people that they are and just being stuck and really wanting to put the work in, and then they get all these extra benefits, you
Plus,
know
I
Yeah.
mean, you're not giving yourself credit because yes, it may take 6 months to a year, but just naming the problem and getting support with it, I bet they feel better pretty early on. It's not an
Yeah,
all or
usually
nothing
people
like
don't Yeah.
it sucks until 6 months from now.
Yeah, it doesn't suck the entire time, like, people wind up feeling so much lighter
Yeah.
really quickly within the first month, and then they're starting to have fun, with it, like, together, and they're just feeling better about themselves and less shame, and,
That's
like,
the
the whole process is actually really fun and enjoyable,
yeah.
and I was also discounting that because I was thinking of it as this sort of exchange, and that I was asking people to invest time, and but the thing is they wanna invest time, and they're gonna get so much out of it, and I was really discounting what the joy of the whole process too. So, yeah, I had a lot of thought errors like that. And also kind of like well, who am I? It's weird that I have a PhD in biology, which is actually not weird. It's been so useful.
Yep.
But I had all kinds of like weird thoughts about like, well, and then also like, well, this is a big career shift. And so will it be legitimate? And I'm like, I have multiple master certifications in this specific thing. And I understand the science and can read the science papers on it. Like, this is actually strengths, but I kept discounting them, right? And I
It's
think
such
that's
a
an
good
easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's such a good example of how our brain can offer us lots of different things. And if we don't take everything as fact or rule, we can continue the conversation like you just did live for us. It's exactly what I write about in the inner room. Is that continuing the conversation? Because when we're partnering with ourselves, even those thoughts that sound like they're trying to discount us or our work or our client, they might just be trying to spark us to really root into what's more true. And that's what the other side of the conversation becomes.
Ooh, I really like that framework of it. So, like, thinking about those sort of like questioning, doubting thoughts as actually the beginning of a conversation, like almost it's like you're playing devil's advocate with
Yeah,
yourself.
exactly.
And you
Exactly.
get to come back with, instead of just believing, "Oh, yeah, well, okay, I must not have any credentials and I must not have any worth here."
See?
You get to come back with, "Actually, here is all the evidence to the other side."
Yeah. It's an
Oh, that's
invitation. I
nice.
always say
Mhm.
those statements or those questions are invitations to do one of two things, either to affirm yourself or your goal. So the devil's advocate, or
Yep.
there's actually something, it may be presenting as critical or judgmental, but there may be actually something there that just doesn't work for you. And it's inviting you to look deeper
Mm.
and see a different perspective.
Yeah, maybe like, "Oh, actually, I do have all of these strengths, but there's this one gap that I need to fill,
And I
and
want to
now
do
I
that.
know I need to go fill it."
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's such a useful reframe. I bet your clients get a ton out of it.
Yeah. It's so good. So tell me what became easier or more aligned once you started trusting your own assessment of what your clients needed. Yeah.
Yeah, like, everything became easier.
Yeah.
I just stopped focusing on me too, which was really helpful. Because when you're terrified, you're really kind of focused on yourself as opposed to helping people, right? And when I show that I have confidence, people are feeling vulnerable. They've tried things, none of them have worked. It really helped for me to shift into like, no, actually, I know that I can help you. That gives people, they get to borrow my confidence
Mm,
that their problem is solvable
yeah.
until they build their own evidence, right? Because I can use all the evidence from my past clients to support me in holding that for them.
Yeah. I
And
love
that's a big shift. People can feel it, like, and they can feel my honesty when I'm saying I'm not the right fit for you too. I will absolutely own that because it's not in my interest to try to help people that I'm not going to be able to help. Right? Like, if I'm not the right fit for somebody's situation, then I'll let them know. When I am confident, they can feel my confidence and they can kind of hold on to that until they build their own. And that really helps people over that terrifying gap of like, what if it doesn't work? What if I invest time and money in this and it's not going to work? Right. And that kind of thinking is what undermines all of us when we're setting goals. Right. If I don't believe I can learn how to swim when I show up at the pool, there's absolutely nothing that swim instructor is going to be able to do. I'm going to be terrified. Right. I'm just going to be like the whole time.
unless he normalizes like you do, or he or she or them normalizes the fear. They calm it. I had a client or a guest on the podcast once that called what you're describing of letting them borrow confidence, letting them borrow belief. She called it breathing belief. And I just love that so much. And so if they do what you're describing, then they can show up not believing.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, it's really soothing for
it's so
people
beautiful.
when you kinda get out of your own way and you do trust yourself to help someone,
Mhm.
it's very soothing. You wouldn't wanna go to, like, a dentist who's just like, "I don't know, you need a root canal, but I'm not sure I can do it."
Like, "Are you sure you wanna do this? It's really gonna
You're
hurt."
like, "I'm out, and I'm out."
Yeah. So, so many entrepreneurs and leaders listening are incredible at business self-trust. I get that. I've done a lot of,
Mhm.
research and we get like the different areas where people, much like you were, confident and had a lot of trust in being able to figure things out. But then when it came to marketing or business, so if they are feeling incredible at their like business savvy, but they're
Yeah.
struggling in relational or intimate self-trust, where do you see the biggest gap between the two and what bridges them?
It's really, really common because we get this message from society at large, from our culture, that we're magically supposed to know how to do relationships and intimacy. And yet we don't know, and nobody's taught like, it is incredibly rare, like 1 in a million, where you get a magical family of origin that's gonna somehow teach you perfectly how to be in relationship. Most of us, our parents were carrying some sort of dysfunction down from previous generations, and we don't talk about sex. We don't talk about even how to talk honestly. And we're trained from a very young age to stop paying attention to our bodies, to stop paying attention to our needs. We're socialized in funky ways by gender that really butts heads when you're in heterosexual relationships. And when you're in same sex relationships, can actually kind of exacerbate problems also because you've been socialized in the same way. So our gender socialization, a lack of sex education, a lot of people are relying on porn. It's not sex education. It's entertainment made for men. And it is very much not a good representation of real women's sexual response in particular. And also it gives men a lot of anxiety around performance. And so it's the biggest thing is that people don't realize how normal it is to not feel a lot of confidence around how you relate to someone, how you communicate with your partner. A lot of almost all couples don't have a good repair process for when they have a rift. They don't know how to fight well and in a way that brings them closer together instead of like leaves them with these sort of lingering resentments that just build over time. Right? They don't know what it feels like to actually have a clean relationship where you don't have any of those resentments and where you can say what you need and say what you want, where you can be vulnerable and not have to worry about when you express a need, you know, shutting down your partner or, there's just we tend to play out all the problematic communication and all the problems with our sort of the lack of our cultural awareness around relationships and intimacy. And it's just incredibly normal. So if you don't trust yourself in intimate relationships, that's probably actually because there's some things that you need to learn how to do. But it's not because you don't have the capacity. And what a lot of people do is they think that they're broken or there's something wrong with them or wrong with their partner. And when it's just a knowledge gap.
Or a self relationship gap? Some,
There's a lot of self-relationship gap, yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, the foundation of every relationship with another person is your relationship with yourself. So
with
that's
everything.
where my whole practice starts is, how well do you know yourself and your own wants and desires and your own feelings? And like, how willing are you to trust yourself to be able to articulate those? We do a lot of practice
Yeah.
so that because people have the innate capacity, they just need to practice a little bit so they have some confidence.
Yeah. And they have to realize it's going to be uncomfortable because when we butt up against discomfort, sometimes we think something's gone wrong, something's not right, I'm doing it wrong. And so,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like It's actually pretty fun once you start realizing that you're not as bad as you thought you were gonna be.
Oh, yeah. It's my
So it's
favorite.
the uncomfortable part tends to be the beginning, like the acknowledgement that you need help tends to be uncomfortable. And then but trusting yourself that you are capable and you are like born with all these
Yeah.
capacities and you just need to like reconnect with your actual self.
Yeah. But that
And
has
then
to
when
be
you're
built too,
that's
right?
it.
Just like
Yeah.
intimacy in relationships isn't something we're taught. Self trust isn't something we're taught, and it's actually quietly eroded, not with any malintent most of the time. There are those cases, but where it's just eroded in the way that we grew up, the way that we relate
Yeah.
in the world based on what we know and what is and in society. And what we teach at the self trust coaches, if you want to make external impact, you have to start with internal unity. And so that's the work. And it sounds like
Really
if
similar.
yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds pretty similar. If we want to improve our relationships with others, to start inside. So if someone listening is experiencing a desire gap or relationship anxiety right now, what would you say is one self-trust anchored step that they can take today?
The best thing that you can do is stop shaming yourself. Like really notice where you have shoulds and where you think that you're wrong or bad for something and bring self-compassion to that. That it's shame is never helpful. It doesn't help you act like behave better. It doesn't help you feel better. And so, but there's so much shame around our desires, our needs, our emotional wants that it's okay. Like if you're a high desire partner, if you're a low desire partner, if you think you have kinks, if you think that you have something that you think is weird, guess what? Chances are it's really not weird. And just like allowing yourself to be who you are and then getting curious about that. Like when we're in shame, we can't even get curious about who we are and what's really underneath our desires. We can't understand ourselves because we're so busy trying to hide from ourselves. So the less shame you bring, the better. And I have actually a podcast episode on de-shaming. So you can
Yeah,
always check that out if you need a little help.
definitely.
Because
You
most
also
people
have 5 steps to start solving desired differences.
yeah, so I have a free guide on 5 steps to start solving desire differences without blame or shame. Because I think that's the key thing that separates me is it's really important from my perspective that you get on the same team and there's no blaming or shaming of anyone
Yeah.
because it just doesn't help, right? It doesn't feel good, but it's more than that. It just is counterproductive. So I'd love, if this any of this resonates with you, if you feel like you want more connection or you feel like you're pressured by your partner for connection, um, I'd love for anybody interested to check out the Desire Gap podcast, and you can also just find my free resources at my website.
Yeah, and we'll have all the links in the show notes. So we definitely will have the specific link to that guide, to the podcast, and to your website. So tell us, Laura, this is my favorite question I always like to end with. If you could go back to the version of you who didn't trust herself yet in those areas, who was kind of leaning on credentials or wondering if you should take on the hard work of desire gaps,
Yeah,
what would you tell her now?
I would say that just like everything you've ever done, like the fear of starting my own thing, like the fear of not knowing if I can do it, it's just the exact same thing that needs to happen. You just need to develop them. You just need to build the muscles. So then you don't have evidence you can pick up this weight right now, but you're just going to start small and start building the evidence. And that it's not reckless, right? I think I would tell her too, like, it's not reckless to go your own way. Because I
Mm,
was really worried that I was being reckless
yeah.
and that staying in the wrong place in something that doesn't feel good because you're afraid is actually like not it's not a cost we wanna pay, right? that all the hard problems are where the meaningful work is and where the meaningful growth is, right? Like everything that's hard, like go towards the hard. I've always been kind of like well, it's going to be hard anyway, so just go towards the hard. And I think that helped me.
Mm.
But I do think I would like try to let her know that it'll work out. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. You'll be okay.
Yes. The heart is just the threshold that we
Yeah, going like and just that like following your path is not reckless. I think a lot of us feel like it's like selfish or somehow not responsible
yeah.
if
How
we
many people would not have been served if it was not responsible? If you would have listened to that's not responsible and it's selfish. Talk about
yeah,
it.
hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people, hundreds of
Right.
people, absolutely.
And you
Yeah.
showed such a good example throughout all of this of one way that you anchored yourself was reminding yourself of the people you serve and the people that you help and can help. And I think that's such a great way of using your values to ground yourself into your trust and to make those decisions from there. So,
Yeah,
Lord, thank
thank
you
you.
so much for
My
bringing
pleasure.
clarity, yeah, and compassion and grounded truth to a topic that most people feel afraid to name, let alone explore. So, your self trust journey is such a powerful reminder that the places we hesitate to go are often the places we're most called to lead. So if you're listening, you want to connect with Laura, explore her work, or dive deeper into her methodologies, all the links are in the show notes. And if this conversation stirred something in you, if you're seeing a before and after in your own relationship with self trust, there are two ways to take the next step. You can start with the self trust identity map or explore claim. And if you have your own self trust story you'd like to share, or if you're in the middle of creating one, I'd love to hear it. All the links are in the show notes below. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. Thank you, Laura, so much for being here and sharing your amazing story.
Thanks, Dawn. I really appreciate you inviting me here, and thanks to all your listeners for being here with us.
Yes, thank you for listening. You are building something beautiful when you choose to trust yourself. See you next time on the Self Trust Solution Podcast.